Shalom Aleichem, Erev Tov. Good evening. We are together in the 5th chapter of the Laws of Teshuvah of Rabbenu HaRambam. For those of you who missed last night's class, I'm sorry. For you. Last night's shiur was probably one of the more important shiurim we had in a long time. And we focused on the first half of this chapter that all relates to bechira chofshit, whether a person has free will or not. And today is going to be the second half of that chapter. We spoke yesterday about Adam HaRishon in the Garden of Eden, about the real meaning the Moreh Nevuchim gives for the snake that we spoke about yesterday. There was one sentence from the Rambam that I mentioned in Moreh Nevuchim yesterday. I didn't elaborate on it properly. So I want to back up to yesterday for 1 minute, and then I'll come back to what we did today. We said yesterday that Adam HaRishon, the first man, what was his chet in Gan Eden, according to the Rambam yesterday in Moreh Nevuchim? What did we say it was? What did he do? Don't all answer at once.
He thought he was God.
What I said yesterday, not what somebody else said.
He thought he was God, no? After the head.
Adam HaRishon yesterday made a choice. What was his choice? He chose?
Well, he tried to blame it.
He chose to listen to his wife.
Okay, the snake. What is the snake? Rambam went.
He chose to use his imagination.
Very good. Thank you. Somebody listened to the show yesterday. He chose his imagination over reality. He made a choice to go into the realm of the imaginary instead of the realm of what is real. And when a person is choteh in his mind, the consequence is that you end up losing your mind. Our Chachamim teach us that everything in the world is midah keneged midah. You do something here, it hurts you in the same place that you did it. In the realm of the Rambam, he says, "Kasher chata, v'nata achar ta'avotav hadimyoniyot, v'hanaot chushav hagufaniyim." When Adam HaRishon left the realm of emet v'sheker, of reality, and he decided to go after his imagination, after his desires, Ne'enash, how was he punished? Bekach shnishlela mimenu ota hasaga sichlit. He lost the ability to use his mind properly. He now only knows how to use his mind in imagination. It's why Chava, we said yesterday, she sees the tree and she says, wow, what a beautiful tree. What a nice tree. It seems so desirable to eat from this tree. Who talks like that about a tree? Only somebody who's imagining a tree. But a tree is a tree. The imagination was so powerful it overcame his mind, his sense of reality. We'll get there in a second. So what is a chet? A chet is in the mind. Our rabbis tell us that the thoughts of a chet are worse than a chet itself. Hirurei avera kashim me'avera. What does it mean, hirurei avera? Thinking about doing an avera is worse than doing the avera. How could it be? Thinking of murdering somebody is worse than murdering them? Take over. Okay, good. This is the answer. If I could give you a pshat answer before I tell you the Rambam, if I could maybe tell you something that is true. Sometimes people fantasize about averot, and it's so exciting. And when it actually comes to do the avera, it's not as exciting as you thought about it. And now you're stuck doing something bad, but it's not even as exciting as what you thought it was. That's why hirurei avera, thinking about the avera, it's so much more exciting until you actually do it. And then it's not so exciting. When it comes to Adam Harishon, when it comes to a man in general, we mentioned the only thing that makes him different between him and another animal is his mind. So when you do a chet with your mind, my body is an animal. I know why my body does averot. It's an animal. But my mind is the only part of me that is human. So why is it doing averot? I'm being pogem, I'm hurting the only part of me that is actually me. And that's why it's worse. So the consequence of doing an averah with your mind is that you hurt your mind. HaRambam says, Sachar averah, averah. The reward for an averah is another averah. How could it be? The fact that you began the cycle of averot makes it very difficult to leave it. Rabbenu HaRambam, in his introduction to the Perush HaMishnah, to the commentary in the Mishnah, he mentions a very interesting teaching of the Chachamim. Our rabbis tell us, Kol hamal'ig al divrei Chachamim, anybody who mocks, who makes fun of the words of the Chachamim, nidon b'tzo'ar rotachat. His punishment is they put him inside of boiling hot feces. The closest you can imagine to this is when you have to use the portable toilet somewhere. In a public place, and it's in the summer. This is always a thing when I go, wow, this is what it means to be in Gehenom. And that's not even. Gehenom is if you fall inside. That's the Gehenom. And Gehenom is if your job is to clean that thing. That's Gehenom. Rambam says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not boiling anybody in feces. If you are stupid enough to misunderstand the words of our Chachamim to the point that you make fun of them, your consequence is that you're so stupid that you don't understand the words of wise people, that you're willing to make fun of our Chachamim in public. How stupid is it? Like a person who would go swimming inside the feces. That's what you look like. Meaning, the consequence is that your behavior shows people just how stupid you are. They say that until you speak, people think you're stupid. But once you speak, they know you're stupid. This is a different thing. You can keep things in the realm of, I don't understand, so I'm quiet. But to get up and to make fun of our Chachamim must mean that you have such little regard for yourself that you're willing to embarrass yourself in front of the whole world. It's relevant because yesterday the Rambam was asked a question about Gan Eden. So this man thinks he's so smart, but he reads the Torah in such a silly way. So he thinks he understands, but he doesn't really understand. And that brings us back to today, to right now. If you open up the Mishneh Torah, I'm in the book of Mada, Laws of Teshuvah, page 83. Yesterday we mentioned that everybody has free will, free choice. Reshut kol adam netuna lo. That was yesterday. Today, Rabbenu HaRambam is going to continue. Page 83, you see? Rabbenu HaRambam ended off in Halakha Gimel. You see Halakha Gimel? On the right side of the column? V'ikar ze ikar gadol hu. This principle is a big principle. V'hu amud haTorah v'amitzvah. And it is the pillar of the Torah and the mitzvah. Shneimar, like it says, Re natati lefanecha hayom et hachayim v'et hatov. I put before you today life and good, v'et hamavet v'et hara, evil and bad, death and bad. V'chatuv re anochi noten v'chem hayom beracha u'klala. I'm putting before you today a blessing and a curse. Klomar she'hareshut biyedchem. Permission of choice is in your hands. וכל שיחפוץ האדם לעשות ממעשה בני אדם עושה. And anything that a person wants to do, he can do. בין טובים בין רעים, whether it's good or bad. מפני זה העניין נאמר מי ייתן והיה לבבם זה להם, כלומר שן הבורא כופה בני אדם, ולא גוזר עליהם לעשות טובה או רעה, אלא ליבם אסור להם. Says Rabbenu HaRambam, a foundational principle of our Torah, you are this way because you are this way. Not because HaKadosh Baruch Hu made you this way. Your decisions from today forward are yours. You can't blame HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I make bad decisions because he made me do it. We spoke yesterday that was the whole problem. The problem is, Adam HaRishon is asked, why did you eat from the tree? He says, my wife made me do it. You ask the wife, why did you do it? The snake made me do it. What's going on here? We mentioned this is a symptom of schizophrenia. When a person hears and sees things that tells them to do things that aren't there. This is the Nachash. The Nachash, we said, according to the Barbanel, Nachash is from Nichush, a Menachesh, what do you say the word in English? Divinity, diviner, the word? That one? He's a Menachesh. He's this sign, this means the bird flew this way, that's why it's going to happen to you. It's a very primitive way of thinking about the world. And you fall into that pattern, then everything goes crazy after that. A person needs to take responsibility for their own actions. What's the problem? There are many problems with it. Primarily, let's see, Halakha Dalet. אילו היה האל גוזר על האדם להיות צדיק או רשע. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu were to decree on a person, you're going to be a tzaddik, you're going to be a rasha. If it was predestined for you already, what you are going to be in the world, then what? If that's, meaning if a person doesn't have free choice, או אילו שום דבר, היה שם דבר שמושך את האדם בעיקר תולדתו לדרך מן הדברים, או למדע מן המדעות, או לדעה מן הדעות, או למעשה מן המעשים. If there was something that would cause you to do one of these things, go on one of these paths, believe one of these beliefs, but what is he talking about? What does he mention? How many categories he mentioned? Derech min hadrachim, 1. Mada min hamadaot, 2. De'a min hadeot, 3. Maaseh min hamaasim, 4. The commentaries in the Mishneh Torah, they are all scrambling, trying to figure out what the difference between these 4 things are. Harav Kapach explains it very simple. You remember before, in Halakha Bet? In the middle of Halakha Bet, we said, look Halakha Bet. You see Halakha Bet? The top of page 83 on the right. Nobody forces you to be who you are. Rather, אלא כל אדם ואדם ראוי להיות צדיק כמו שרבנו או רשע כירבעם. You could be righteous like Moshe or evil like ירבעם. או חכם או שחל. Wise or stupid. או רחמן או אכזרי. Compassionate or cruel. או כלאי או שואה. You could be stingy or you could be generous. וכן שאר כל הדעות. How many categories here? 4. These are the same 4. The Rambam is assuming that you remember Halakha Bet when he says these 4 things. Those are the, one is about wisdom, one is about character types, one is about your generosity with other people. You have a choice in all of these things in your life. How you're going to treat somebody else is not dependent on HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided, I'm going to be a cruel person to other people. That's you deciding you're going to be bad to other people. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't make you generous to other people. That's your decision that you are generous to other people. כמו שבודים מליבם הטיפשים הוברי שמיים. Not like the stupid people. Yesterday, what did he call them? Yesterday, looking at the Chabet, he called them טיפשי האומות ורוב גולמי בני ישראל. The stupid of the non-Jews and the golmim. Golem is like an inanimate object of a human, of the Jewish people. Now, what is actually a golem? What is a golem? Before that? So what does it mean to be a golem? Rabbenu HaRambam and very good. In Pirush HaMishnah, the Rambam explains all these things. Why? Because we have here, chapter 5 of Pirkei Avot, Mishnah number 6. Shiv'a devarim begolem v'shiv'a bechacham. There are 7 character traits in a golem and 7 traits in a chacham. We read this here, right? And between Pesach and Shavuot, thank you. We read here Shiv'a devarim begolem. ושיבה בחכם, חכם אינו מדבר לפני מישהו גדול ממנו. There are things that חכמים do, things גדולים do. says רבנו הרמב"ם, אני אפרש לך תחילת השמות הללו, החוזרים פעמים רבות בדברי חכמים. Let me explain to you, there are a few words חכמים use a lot. והם בור, עם הארץ, גולם, חכם, חסיד. These don't all mean the same thing. They're very different from each other. He mentions, for example, that a bur is somebody who is an idiot in his intellect. Also, he's really a bad person in everything. He's a bur, like a field would be a bur, like an open space. He's nothing. There's nothing good to him. And am haaretz is something interesting. We use an am haaretz in a bad way. Am haaretz. Am haaretz means he's lacking any normal understanding of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of Torah, mitzvot. But by the name of am haaretz, what does it mean, am haaretz? People of the earth. What does it mean? On the earth, they're good people. They can be civilized members of society. That's an am haaretz. Don't talk to him about HaKadosh Baruch Hu or about anything spiritual. Doesn't understand anything. But am haaretz is a good citizen of the world, not a bad person. Am haaretz. For us, he's missing something because he has no knowledge of what he's supposed to know. But in his character trait, he's a good person, better than a bull. Says Rambam, a golem is a person who knows HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He knows this world, but everything he knows about HaKadosh Baruch Hu is wrong. It's a perverted type of Judaism in a way that's bad. The way that a golem is anything that is in a golmi stage. In Hebrew, it's like in a raw stage. For example, says the Rambam, you have a sword. And the sword is not sharp yet, but it has the hilt and it has the metal, I don't know the words in English. It has all the pieces to it, but they didn't sharpen it yet. So does it look like a sword? Yes. Does it work like a sword? No, it's not gonna, I'm not gonna kill somebody by hitting him, but right now it's still a prop. Yeah? It's not real. And therefore, that's a golem. When somebody's a golem, it means they have some inkling of an understanding, but they're not there yet. A chacham is somebody who's complete both in their understanding of the creator of the world and the Torah, but also in their dealing with society. That's why our rabbis tell us, Kol chacham she'en bo da'at. Any chacham who doesn't have the normal understanding of people in the world, the da'at, nevela tova himeno. A dead carcass is better than him. Why? Because what's the point of being a chacham if you're so bad? Our rabbis are full of teachings of bad chachamim because you're not really a chacham if you're in that level of bad. And then you have a chassid. What is a chassid? The HaRambam says chassid is a fanatic a little bit. Not necessarily bad. The word chesed means overdoing something. When you overdo, but you can overdo in the wrong direction too. But chassid is somebody who they ran out of the mitzvot to do, and now they're only looking for extra to do. There is a place for chassidut. Not for everybody, not always, not with everything. But there is room for chassidut. But sometimes a chassid is the closest step to also go overboard on something. That's something that has to be balanced properly. So, golem. We said a golem. Now the Rambam is back to handing out titles of honor. Tipshim hovre shamayim. The stupid ones, what does hovre shamayim mean? Yeah. The Rambam really, really doesn't like people who are into astrology. The stars told me that I'm this way because I was born in a certain month and a certain time when the moon was shining in the wrong direction. That's why I am this way. If you want to jump with me for a second, look at the end of the laws of Avodah Zarah. I'll tell you what page it is in your book. It's a few pages back because look on page 76 in these books. If you're in Sefaria, you're in a Rambam, you want to go to the laws of Avodah Zarah, the end of chapter 11. Says Rabbenu HaRambam, end of chapter, it's on page 76 here. Halakha Ted Zayin. He's talking here about sorcerers, mechashvim, and magicians, and all kinds of people like that. Says the Rambam in Halakha Tet Zayin. In your book, it's on the left column, in the top part of the page. Yeah, so page 76. Udvarim ha'elu. These things. Kulan divrei sheker v'chazal hen. They're all matters of falsehood and lies. Rabbani told me yesterday the origin of the word falsehood. I don't know if it's true, but the Rabbani told me that when people in the medieval times were, people wore hoods, but when they would run away, they would change their hoods to camouflage. So a false hood of mamash was, I don't know if it's true, but that's, we say here, sheker v'chazaf. והן שיטעו בהן עובדי עבודה זרה קדמונים לגויי הארצות כדי שינהו אחריהן. The reason why people believe in stars, astrology, constellations, mazal in the first place is because there were idol worshippers in the early days, like the politicians of yesterday. We spoke about the politicians yesterday. That they use people's imaginations against them. And they scare people into following them. And they caused a lot of people to think, listen, if you're with me, I'll protect you from Mercury, from Mars. But if you're not with me, they'll have power over you, and whatever will happen to you will happen to you. Then Raul Israel. It's not fitting for the Jewish people. Shem chachamim mechukamim, that are wise people. Limashech bahavalim ha'elu, to follow these stupidities. ולא לעלות על הלב שיש בהן תעלה, and not even to think for a minute that there is some kind of toilet, some kind of usefulness in these things. שנאמר, like it says in במדבר, כי לא נחש ביעקב ולא קסם בישראל. We don't do these things. ונאמר, and it says in דברים, כי הגויים האלה אשר אתה יורש אותם, אל מעוננים ואל קוסמים ישמעו, ואתה לא כן נתן לך אדוני אלוהיך. You are about to conquer a nation of people, that they worship the stars and the constellations, but you're Jewish, you don't do that, says the Torah. כל המאמין בדברים אלו וכיוצא בהן. Anybody who believes in these things, anything similar to them, ומחשב בליבו שהן אמת ודברי חוכמה, אבל התורה אסרה אותן. Let's say you say, I believe in astrology. I believe that the moon influences my behaviors. I believe that the month I was born in affects who I'm going to love. I believe, but the Torah said I can't deal with it. I believe it's true, but I can't deal with it. If that's what you say, אינו אלא מן השכלים ומחסרי הדעת. You're just a stupid person who's missing a brain, says the Rambam. No, this is going to be hurtful. It doesn't mean it to be hurtful. ובכלל הנשים והקטנים שאין דעתן שלמה. And you're like women and children whose intellect is not fully formed. I've spoken about this before in previous shurim. You'll notice how many women are in our Beit Midrash. Clearly, this is not something we're afraid of here. Rabbenu HaRambam lived in a world which, very unfortunately, women didn't have an education. The reality of the Rambam's world. And so, not all women, but his interactions with women, the interaction most Chachamim had with women, or were there exceptions to this? Even in the Talmud, there are exceptions to this. But that the people who believe in imagination, and people who believe in magic, and people who believe in sorcery, are women. Like it says in the Mishnah, Marbe nechasim, marbe de'aga. The more property you own, the more fear you have. The more, why are you afraid? You have what to lose. Look, the homeless guy in the street, he's worried about where he's going to get dinner from. It's true. He doesn't worry about what's going to happen to his yacht in the middle of a hurricane. He doesn't worry what's going to happen if the pipes in his house burst when he's on vacation. He doesn't worry who's going to steal his car because he doesn't have any of those things. Marbe nechasim, the more you own, marbe de'aga. The same chachamim then continue, marbe nashim, marbe kshafim. The more women you have in your life, the more sorcery you have in your life. Why? Why? Because a person whose intellect is not formulated falls back on magic. And that's very dangerous for a person. By the way, this is the meaning. I'll tell you now because I see some people are new here, and maybe they'll be afraid that I'm right now being some kind of chauvinist. In the laws of Talmud Torah, I'm trying to think if I can do this. Okay. In the laws of Talmud Torah, why don't we look it up together? Come. I don't like to quote things that are not in books. So if you go to page 54, keep your finger here because I have to come back here. Halakha Yud Gimel, page 55. Says Rabbenu HaRambam, Isha shelamda Torah, the bottom left of page 55. A woman who has learned Torah. For those of you who are with me, I'm in the laws of Talmud Torah, chapter 1, halakha 13. Yesh la sachar, she has reward. אבל אינו כשכר האיש, מפני שלא נצטוות. That's how he's menaked. Her reward is not the same of a man because she is not obligated to learn Torah. Therefore, our rabbis tell us that gadol hamitzuvah ve'oseh me'eno mitzuvah ve'oseh. We always give more sachar to the one who's obligated to do something than the one who's not. וכל העושה דבר שאינו מצווה עליו, אין שכרו כשכר המצווה שעשה, אלא פחות ממנו. Says Rabbenu HaRambam that a person who does a mitzvah, for example, today Avinoam and Shira decided to clean their room. Nobody asked them to do it. They did it on their own. Now, they should get a reward for that. Now imagine if I then told Avinoam and Shira while they're cleaning the room, hey, you guys got to clean your room. Are they going to keep cleaning their room or they're going to stop? They're going to want to stop. Why? Now being demanded to do it. But if they then continue to clean their room, they should get a bigger reward. Gadol hamitzuveh, the one who's commanded to do something and does it, it's harder to do it. And so it's easy for you to volunteer things. But when you are told to do something, there's a yetzer not to do it. And so you get more reward. It sounds opposite, but you get more reward for that which is more difficult for you. And it's more difficult to be told to do something than not to be told to do something. Who did I tell this to? I told this to Yael in the Bedin. Abraham, you were there also. Yael, I heard her quoting it to somebody. I said, you know how easy it is to keep Shabbat when you're not Jewish? You know how easy it is to come to the Beit HaKnesset when you're not Jewish? The moment you come out of the mikveh is the first time you're going to miss tefillah. I promise you. It's the first time you're going to stop coming to all the classes. I know why. Because now you have Yetzirah, and now you have to do it. Now you have to do it, I don't want to do it. The same way, they talk about the bar mitzvah boy. They comes to the bar mitzvah, he never see him again. There's a reason for that. It's because the bar mitzvah, before he was optional. Now I have to do it. I don't want to do it. It's part of how our human nature works. So, says Rabbenu HaRambam, V'af al pi sheyesh la sachar, even though a woman gets a reward for learning Torah, Tzivu chachamim, our rabbis instructed, shelo yilamed adam et bito Torah, that a man should not teach his daughter Torah. מפני שרוב הנשים אין דעתן מכוונת להתלמד, because most women, their mind is not properly focused to learn. והן מוציאים דברי תורה לדברי הווי, לפי עניות דעתן, and they turn the words of Torah into words of imagination, of magic, because of their lack of intellect. So how did I make this conversation any better? What did I just do here? Who was with me when I explained to you when Harav Abe Fauer should live and be well, how he explained this Rambam? If a woman has a reward, that means that there's a reason for her to learn Torah. So why did the rabbis instruct a father not to teach his daughter Torah? We say because she makes them into divrei havai. By the way, many men do the same thing with Torah, and the rabbi's recommendation will go against teaching those kind of men Torah also. There's another section about teaching a talmid sheno hagun. You don't teach students Torah if they're going to misappropriate the Torah. So this stupid men are also not allowed to be taught Torah. It's not a thing just for women. Yeah, but now we're talking about women. So tell me what is the tzivui of our rabbis? When a rabbi says tzivui chachamim, this is a halakha? When the rabbi said tzivui chachamim, it's a law?
It's a recommendation.
A recommendation. It's an instruction. I translated, our rabbis instructed. Now, it's a good idea to take advice from chachamim. It's a good idea. But it's not a law. It's not a law. Only for a man. Now we're talking about his daughter. Our rabbis instructed that a man should not teach his daughter Torah. Rabbanit, why did Harav Abe Fa'or explain that our chachamim teach that one should not teach his daughter Torah?
He said they need to learn in a real institution, so they don't learn it correctly.
Oh, that's the answer. Tzivu, our rabbis instructed if a woman is going to learn Torah and she wants to understand Torah properly, she has to get away from people who are not going to instruct her in Torah properly. She should go to yeshiva. She should go learn from chachamim. from somebody who's going to make sure the Torah she studies doesn't turn into magic. Unfortunately, what do you see? Half of the Torah that is taught in the world is magic. Do this, don't do that. You go walk around the kotel 40 times in a row, put a red string on your face. All the Torah, bake the challah on this day with a key inside of it. All of the magic that comes out of Torah. That's magic. It's not Torah. Who taught that? Nowhere in a yeshiva. And don't jump on me. Yeshiva, I don't mean what they call a yeshiva. A lot of people call themselves a yeshiva. By yeshiva, we mean an accredited institution of higher Jewish learning, accredited by who? By Chachamei Talmud. The real Chachamim. They don't talk like that. They tell you want a parnasa, the best gula the Rambam will give you for parnasa, go get a job. Don't bother baking keys into your challah. That's a ridiculous way to get a parnasa. It's
his father's a dentist. That's a wonderful way. Every year somebody breaks their tooth when they.
Yeah. He said he knows why. He said hey, people bite the key challah and they break their tooth. His father's a dentist. He gets a parnasa from the keys into the challah. But that's what the Rambam would tell you. A magician would tell you, no, go take a challah, make it in the shape of you're a dentist, make it in the shape of a tooth, and Kadosh Baruch Hu wasn't. That's a magician talking, not a chacham talking. And in order to make sure that our daughters don't learn magic, it's best to say, I as a father am not an accredited Jewish institution. I wish for you to study Torah in a place where the guidance is but it's a tzivui. What if there's no such place? What if the father is the best option? So teach, of course teach.
Why would it then say children as opposed to daughter?
Because the son for sure goes to yeshiva. Not a question about that. Yeah. The assumption is that a man goes to learn. So now I can go back to the Rambam that I was in, because I was already taking, this is the tangent from the tangent. Okay? Now I'm back with you on page 77. 76. In the middle of laws of Avodah Zarah. The Rambam says the only people who believe in this kind of stuff, like astrology and... Do you guys know when people go for shidduchim, there are people that ask, what is your horoscope? I had a friend went on a date with a girl. They didn't let him go on the date until they analyzed his handwriting. Now, before you get on my case about analyzing handwriting, please don't jump on me. Okay, I'm not going to say anything more out loud, but that's a ridiculous way to determine whether or not you go with somebody on a date. Yeah, that's not the way that it works. Says Rabbenu HaRambam, אבל בעלי החוכמה ותמימי הדעת ידעו בראיות ברורות שכל אלו הדברים שאסרה התורה אינם דברי חוכמה, אלא תוהו והבל שמשכו בהן חסרי הדעת ונטשו כל דרכי האמת בגללן. Says Rabbenu HaRambam that anybody who has a brain recognizes that the Torah didn't say don't do magic because it's real, but we're not allowed to do it. It said don't do magic because it's stupid. And when you start to train your brain to think in this illogical, irrational way, the steps that come out of here are horrible. But what comes out of it? Number one, you teach yourself sheker. You teach yourself how to lie. And when you pervert the way that you think, it's impossible to straighten your mind again. Number two, people leave all kinds of pathways of emet. You make crazy decisions because you're no longer grounded in reality. Number three, you go after Avodah Zarah. Because Avodah Zarah, we started yesterday, it's all about the control of other people by telling them not to trust themselves and not to trust their intellect, but to trust me. Trust my stars. Trust my whatever social agenda I have to give you right now, you better swallow it whole and not ask any questions. And a person who teaches themselves not to think critically is going to end up in a place that is very bad for them. And ends Rabbenu HaRambam, ומפני זה אמרה תורה, כשהזהירה על כל אלו ההבלים. And that's why the Torah warns us, tamim tiyeh עם Adonai Elohecha. Not correctly translated, you should be stupid with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, your God. Tamim means to be whole, pure, full of integrity, not full of superstitions and magic. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want you to have something, walking around a building 40 times, it's not going to give it for you. It's, something else has to change inside of you. A conversation has to be had with the Creator. But to do magic tricks with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, it's not going to help you. To pay 18 monthly payments of this amount of money to the right organization so they will save your life, it's not how it works in the Torah. Not like that. There are things that you can do, but it's not that. It's something intellectual, something real, something very realistic. So, let's go back to laws of Teshuvah. Rabbenu HaRambam in the laws of Teshuvah, what page was that? I told you 83. 76, 83. Says Rabbenu HaRambam in Halakha Daled, כמו שבודים מליבם הטיפשים הוברי שמיים. Now you know who the טיפשים הוברי שמיים are? They're the people who believe that the stars determine my future, and not myself, that I have no free will. האח היה מצווה לנו על ידי הנביאים, עשה כך ואל תעשה כך, היטיבו דרכיכם ואל תלכו אחרי רשעכם. הלכה ד' 83. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
How could it be that Kadosh Baruch Hu would send his prophets? Do this, don't do that, return from your evil ways. If everything I do, Kadosh Baruch Hu already decided what I'm doing. והוא מתחילת בריאתו כבר נגזר עליו, ותולדתו תמשוך אותו לדבר שאפשר לו לזוז ממנו. If everything I'm doing is because HaKadosh Baruch Hu already decided I'm going to do it, so what's the point of him telling me to do or not to do anything? ומה מקום היה לכל התורה כולה? Like Oren said, what's the point of the whole Torah? The Torah assumes that you have freedom of movement, free will, free decision making. If I don't have the freedom to make decisions, so why bother me with a Torah that tells me how to behave? ובאיזה דין ואיזה משפט נפרע מן הרשע או משלם שכר לצדיק. So on which ground does HaKadosh Baruch Hu reward the righteous and punish the evil if everything I do he already decided I'm going to do? On what grounds? השופט, one second, השופט כל הארץ לא יעשה משפט. Who's he quoting here? Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu said, will the one who judges the whole world not do that which is just? How could it be the whole Torah exists, but I have no free will? Rabbi Yaakov, what's your question?
Thank you, Rabbi. The second Shabbat, it discusses over there that a person who's born on a specific day of the week has a certain tendency towards something. So I don't think, right, meaning my understanding is that Hashem puts the test in it for an individual, and that test, depending on if he's able to overcome it, also depends on what his reward will be out of that. So it's similar to like if somebody was like told to do something and they don't want to do it. Here, a person has a tendency to be whatever chasing after money, but he decides to fight the tzara and not chase after money. So therefore, his schar for somebody like that is even more so than somebody who doesn't have a tendency to want to chase after money, right? I mean,
are you asking or you're telling me?
Correctly? I'm trying to understand if that's what because the rabbi is saying that it seems like there's no if you're saying there's free will, then why would Hashem tell you not or not give you the free will to do something? But we're seeing that there's certain people that have certain tendencies to do something that Hashem inputs in them, and that's not negating their free will, right?
I think that in general, much ink has been spilled on trying to reconcile the words of Rambam towards astrology with seeming astrology inside of the Talmud. And I can't cover all of that inside of today's shiur, but I can tell you very simply like this. What the Rambam is telling you is not about Masechet Shabbat, it's about Hilchot Teshuvah. Now we're in Hilchot Teshuvah. Focus on the fact that there's one God, He created you, and you have free will to change or not change anything that you want. How hard your struggle is, or not hard your struggle, why you have a struggle, that's already a different question. But the ikar is not to blame your struggle, just like you shouldn't blame your wife and you shouldn't blame the snake. You should blame yourself. I'm having a struggle, and I need to overcome that struggle. That's the only thing that matters here in Hilchot Teshuvah, not why or where or how or what. I need to be the person that I'm supposed to be. And that's the focus. If we want on a different day, we can go over shiur on the Rambam and why he dismisses offhand so many of the things that you see all over the Talmud. How could it be? How could it be that the Chachamim say A, B, C, and the Rambam says no, that's not what it means. It's a good point. Not right now. Mechila. So, I brought you Rav Kapach's commentary because I wanted to go through some pieces that are extra. Let's just do the Rambam. I want to finish this for you hopefully before we can get to Elul, to Tishrei. ואל תטמע ותאמר. And don't be bewildered and ask, האך יהיה אדם עושה כל מה שיחפוץ, ויהיה מעשיו מסורים לו? How could it be that I have the choice to do whatever I want? וכי יעשה בעולם דבר שלא ברשות קונו ובלא חפצו? Can anything in the world really happen without the permission or the desire of the creator of the universe? והכתוב אומר, and the pasuk says in Tehillim, כל אשר חפץ אדוני עשה בשמיים ובארץ. Everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants, that's what happens on heaven and earth. דע שהכל בחפצו יעשה, ואף על פי שמעשינו מסורין לנו. Everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants happens, and all of the choices are ours to make. This is paraphrasing which famous sentence? Pirkei Avot. What's the famous sentence from Pirkei Avot? Say? Yeah, close. הכל צפוי והרשות נתונה. Very good. Third chapter of Pirkei Avot, Mishnah 18. Who says that? הכל צפוי והרשות נתונה? What does it mean first? הכל צפוי והרשות נתונה? Everything is foreseen by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. הכל צפוי. He saw everything. It doesn't say predestined. It says pre-seen. Everything is foreseen. That's the word I'm looking for. Everything is foreseen. So is it foreseen? I mean, what's going to bother us right now? What's going to bother us?
It's contradiction.
If HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows what I'm going to do, so can I really have the free will to do it?
How they have free choice.
Now I'm starting this, the 8:30, I'm starting this topic. Yeah? I want to read to you, Rabbenu HaRambam writes, if you have Harav Kapach's Mishneh Torah, it's going to be on page 2, and I put English page numbers at the bottom for you because I figure that it might be, if you want to listen, you can just listen. But in the Google Classroom, I sent out Mishneh Torah of Harav Kapach, Hilchot Teshuvah, chapter 5. In the bottom left, Harav Kapach writes, Mishnah Avot, Perek Gimel, Halacha Yudchet, Hakol Tzafui v'Rashut Netuna. This Mishnah, Katav Rabbenu Sham bePirusho. Rabbenu HaRambam writes in his commentary there. Bavazo, this chapter, כוללת עניינים גדולים מאוד, includes in it very, very deep things. ואין ראוי כדברים האלה, אלא לרבי עקיבא. And the only one who really could say these words is רבי עקיבא. שנכנס בשלום לפרדס, ויצא בשלום. That he entered this realm of Pardes, we've spoken about Pardes before, and he left the realm of Pardes in peace. וזה פירושו בקיצור. And this is the short version of what it means. ובתנאי שכבר הבינות מה שקדם בפרקים הקודמים, this is assuming you understood everything I said before to the Rambam, which is a big assumption, okay? You know, the Rambam has 8 chapters of introduction to Pirkei Avot before you read Pirkei Avot. We have them here in English, in this bookshelf that I littered with all my books. In the brown books I have here, introduction to the Pirkei Avot of Rabbenu HaRambam. And he says here, אמר שכל מה שבעולם ידוע לפניו יתעלה והוא צופהו. Everything in the world is known by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He knows it in advance. וזהו אומרו הכל צפוי. That's what he means, everything is foreseen. ואחר כך אמר, אל תחשוב שבהיותו יתעלה יודע מעשים מתחייב ההכרח. Don't think that because HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows that means that's what you have to do. ושיהיה אדם מוכרח על איזה מעשה מן המעשים. That now I have no choice. I'm doing what I'm doing because that's what God already decided for me to do. אין הדבר כן, that's not the case. אלא כל אדם בחירי במעשה. Everybody has free will in his own actions. והוא אומר שהרשות נתונה, כלומר הרשות לכל אדם נתונה לו, כמו שביארנו בפרק השמיני, like I explained to you in the 8th chapter of my 8th chapter introduction, that was the hardest chapter of the 8th chapter, but Rabbenu HaRambam says, I already explained to you how this works, that he knows, and you still have free will. It answered our question? Great. The Rambam is going to make it worse. I'm going to take my minutes that I have to get into the deep end of this. Let's read the next halakha in the laws of Teshuvah. Kitzad, How could it be? Shema shechavets yotzer liot ha'esh v'aruach olin lemala v'amayim v'aretz yordim lemata. That which HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to make the fire and the wind go up and the water and the earth go down. V'agalgal sovev be'igul. I'm not going to get into galgal right now, but in the previous understanding of reality, the sages of the world believe that there are cycles of. If you want to look, you can look earlier in the Mishnah. Spheres. That's the word spheres. Thank you, Oren, for the right word. V'chen shar b'riot ha'olam liot kiminhagan shechafetz bo, ככה חפץ להיות האדם רשותו בידו וכל מעשיו מסורים לו, ולא יהיה לו לא כופה ולא מושך, אלא הוא מעצמו ובדעתו שנתן לו הן, עושה כל שאדם יכול לעשות. So yes, you're a human being. There are limitations. You're not flying. You're not swimming in the. You're not an underground sea creature, underwater sea creature, but you are still a human being. And everything that is in the power of a human being, you have free will to do or not to do. לפיכך דנין אותו לפי מעשיו, and that's why we are judged for our actions. אם עשה טובה, מטיבין לו, ואם עשה רעה, מרעין לו. If we do good, good happens to us. We do bad, bad happens to us. הוא שהנביא אומר, that's what the prophet says, מידכם הייתה זאת לכם. You want to see something fascinating? The prophet Malachi says, מידכם הייתה זאת. From your hands it was this. But the prophet doesn't say the word לכם. The HaRambam added a word to the pasuk. It's an incorrect quotation. Rav Kapach explains this incorrect quotation happened for a reason. No, not in the Tanakh. No way. Couldn't be. Says Rav Kapach that HaRambam was very proficient in Tanakh. So he also knew the pasuk in Yeshayahu, chapter Nun, that says, Miyadi hayta zot lachem. And those words, hayta zot lachem, the Rambam added it here. And you see that not only that, but the Chovot HaLevavot, Rabbenu Bachya, also misquotes this pasuk because of the two pasukim that sound very similar to each other. And the Rambam, in the Moreh Nevuchim, also does the same thing. And so some people change around the Girsot here. I think there's value here. You learn here that you could quote something and it's a word off or not, but it's not the end of the world. The word still means what it means. It doesn't take away the meaning here, but it's okay for you to know. Halavai, we should reach that level of fluency in the Tanakh. גם המה בחרו בדרכיהם, says Yeshaya. ובעניין זה אמר שלמה, שלמה says, שמח בחור בילדותך, be happy young man with your youth. ודע כי על כל אלה ויעך אלוהים במשפט, and know that everything you do in your youth, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will bring you to judgment for it. כלומר, דע שיש בידך כוח לעשות, ועתיד אתה ליתן את הדין. Know that you have the power to do everything you want, and then therefore you are responsible for all of your actions. What does it have to do with anything? This shouldn't start at 8:33, but it's going to start at 8:33. Says Rabbenu HaRambam, Shema Tomar, maybe you'll say, והלא הקדוש ברוך הוא יודע כל מה שיהיה קודם שיהיה. הקדוש ברוך הוא knows everything that will be before it happens. ידע שזה צדיק או רשע, או לא ידע. He knows or he doesn't know that you're going to be a tzaddik or a rasha. אם ידע שהוא יהיה צדיק, if he knows you'll be a tzaddik, אי אפשר שלא יהיה צדיק. Then I have no choice but to be a tzaddik, because I have to fulfill that which God knows. ואם תאמר שידע שיהיה צדיק ואפשר שיהיה רשע, הרי לא ידע הדבר על בוריו. And if HaKadosh Baruch Hu knew I could be a tzaddik and I ended up being a rasha, it means, God forbid, HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't know. Nobody likes these sections of the Torah. Nobody likes them. It's like can God create a stone he cannot lift conversations?
Misunderstanding of the statement.
Tell me, Owen.
If I hold something up and I drop it, I know it's going to fall, but my knowledge of it going to fall doesn't mean I'm causing it to fall.
Okay. You're right, but you're also wrong. I'll tell you why you're wrong. Only because you said you. If you didn't say you, Oren, I would say you're right. Let's look. Da, says Rabbenu HaRambam. And the Ravad hates this answer so much, I'll read to you how much the Ravad hates his answer. Da, you should know. Sheteshuvat she'ela zo, this question, the answer to this question, he quotes now Eov. Aruka me'eretz mida urchava miniyam. Why does he quote Eov? Why Eov and not somebody else? There are other Pesukim that talk about big things.
Poor guy struggled with this question his whole life.
Rabbenu HaRambam's opinion is, in Moreh Nevuchim, that the whole book of Eov is about Bechira Chofshit. The whole book. Free will. So he's borrowing from Eov because poor Eov struggled his whole life with the question of free will. If you want to ever have a book that's going to challenge your belief in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, don't read the book of Eov. Okay, stay as far away from it. You should read Eov. But it's a complicated book. There's a reason why in many Sephardic communities we read Eov on Tisha B'Av. It's a Tisha B'Av book. It's not a Shabbat afternoon book. Not unless you want to lose your appetite. That's the... Says Rabbenu HaRambam, "V'chamai karim gedolim v'hararim ramim teluim ba." How many important principles have mountains are dependent on this? אבל צריך אתה לדע ולהבין בדבר זה שאני אומר, but you have to understand what I'm about to explain to you. You have patience for Rambam's explanation, or we should leave it for next year?
I have patience.
So let's do it. I'm cognizant of my silichot. כבר ביארנו בפרק שני מלכות יסודי התורה. I already explained to you earlier in the Mishneh Torah, in the laws of the foundations of Torah, chapter 2, halacha 10. שהקדוש ברוך הוא אינו יודע בדעה שחוץ ממנו, כבני אדם שהן ודעתן שניים, אלא הוא יתברך שמו ודעתו אחד, ואין דעתו של האדם יכולה להשיג דבר זה על בוריו. He says, your whole question is based on a faulty premise. That your thoughts and actions are the same as HaKadosh Baruch Hu's. You think that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's thoughts and himself are two separate things, because you and your thoughts are two separate things. You can lose your mind. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't lose his mind, doesn't have a mind. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is. He's one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Him and his thoughts are Yachid Yuchad. There is no Yichud like Yichud Hashem. He's not like us. What does it have to do with anything? Says the Rambam. וכשם שאין כוח באדם להשיג ולמצוא אמיתת הבורא, שנאמר, כי לא יראני האדם וחי, like it says in Shemot, that a person cannot see me and live. I mean, there's no way for a person to truly understand HaKadosh Baruch Hu. כך אין כוח באדם להשיג ולמצוא דעתו של הבורא. It's impossible for you to ever really understand the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's thoughts work. In English, you say, man knows. I know something. I know means there's I and what I know. By Kadosh Baruch Hu, there is no two. There is no I know. And therefore, says the Rambam, our human brain is incapable of understanding what it means when we say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows. Who understood this the closest? Rabbi Akiva. Why? Because he went to the Pardes. The Pardes is an intense knowledge of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In that place, Rabbi Akiva could say, I understand that HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows what I'm going to do without interfering in what I do. But most of us, says Rabbenu HaRambam, don't understand. Yeah?
When Hashem reveals the back of Hashem, is that technically also the Pardes or higher than the Pardes? Or something totally different?
That's exactly where this pasuk is from.
See how you answer, Achanan. כך,
Beautiful.
וכיוון שכן הוא, אין בנו כוח לדע האח ידע הקדוש ברוך הוא, כל הבורים מעשיהם. We don't begin to understand what it means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows that we're going to do what we do. אבל נדע, the last paragraph of Rabbenu HaRambam, but we know. We know one thing for sure. So we don't understand HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but one thing we do know. נדע בלא ספק, we know without a doubt, שמעשה האדם ביד האדם. That man has the freedom to make choices. That we know for sure. That's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu told us. Then HaKadosh Baruch Hu moshcho v'lo gozer anav. He does not decree on us or influence us to do what we do. לא לעשות כך ולא לעשות כך. Not to do this and not to do that. ולא מפני קבלת הדעת בלבד נדע דבר זה, אלא בראיות ברורות מדברי החוכמה. We know this not just because of our religion. We know this because we know in logic that people are making free choices all the time. ומפני זה נאמר בנבואה שדנין את האדם על כל מעשיו כפי מעשיו, אם טוב ואם רע. And we know that our prophets told us that a person is judged. נותן לרשע רע כרשעתו. What does that mean, that pasuk? That teaching in the Rambam. How does it start? גומל לאיש חסיד כמפעלו נותן לרשע רע כרשעתו. He gives the chassid kindness and he gives the evil person bad. Why? Because he has free will. I was not determined to be a rasha, so I can't get off the hook by saying, sorry God, you made me that way. No, I have the choice to become a tzaddik or a rasha. וזה העיקר שכל דברי הנבואה תלויים בו. And this is the foundational principle that everything in the prophecies, the prophets wouldn't spend their time talking to us, trying to convince us to turn back our ways if there was no point in telling us what to do, if we were just robots. Imagine right now, you have a cow. You have a cow. Should I give you a better example? Everyone ate dinner already? Because I know that nobody here owns a cow. But some of you own a dog. Only Rachel that never thought about owning a dog, and after now, for sure, she's never going to own a dog. Those of you who have a dog, you might know that sometimes dogs eat what they go to the bathroom. No, it's keo. He eats it so'ato. Yeah, he goes to the bathroom and he eats it. The problem is that sometimes dogs have parasites. There's worms in there. And then every time the dog gets healed from the worms, he keeps eating the worms. And so how do they solve that problem? They give him a medication that makes the stuff that comes out of him not taste good for him. So he doesn't eat it. Who wants to corroborate what I'm saying from a medical dog owner perspective? You go to the Petco right now. There's a whole shelf of products like that. Imagine now you tell your dog, hey, Skippy, I told you 30 times not to eat that stuff. It's going to make you sick. And then your neighbor sees you take a stick and start hitting your dog because I told you not to eat it. What are they going to think about you? Animal control's going to come. Probably in America, they'll arrest you too for animal abuse. And then what else? What kind of stupid person thinks that you can explain to Skippy that he shouldn't eat the things that are bad for him? Skippy is a dog. Because you know that Skippy doesn't have free will. You know that he's not a creature like you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu would not send Nevi'im to Skippy. He wouldn't send Yeshayahu, Yirmiyahu, Yechezkel, Michal, Chagai, and Zechariah, Malachi. Wouldn't send Amos and Obadiah. Wouldn't send them to people who are dogs. He wouldn't send Yonah to Nineveh if there was no chance that the people of Nineveh would do Teshuvah. Our rabbi says even why he didn't want to go. A person has free will. The whole reason our Nevi'im exist is because people have the freedom to make choices. So says the HaRambam, you're not sure how to make that work with the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows everything, so forget that HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows everything. It doesn't matter. What matters is that I'm telling you for certain that you have free will. I told you this bothers the Ravad. Let me read to you a little bit before we start. I'll read. Harav Kapach has a hard time with people who don't understand the Rambam and ask questions in the Rambam. It makes him upset a little bit. He works hard to write it nicely. Katav Ravad. The Ravad writes the following. If you want to read with me, it's the second to last page in the PDF that I sent you. Bottom left. Lo nahag ze hamechaber minhag hachachamim. This author of this book, the Rambam, he didn't write like a chacham. שאין אדם מתחיל בדבר ולא ידע להשלימו. A person doesn't start asking questions he doesn't know how to answer. והוא החל בשאלות קושיות, והניח הדבר בקושיה, והחזירו לאמונה. He asked good questions, and then he said, no answers to your questions, go back to faith. וטוב היה לו להניח הדבר בתמימות, התמימים, ולא יעורר ליבם ויניח דעתם בספק. He said they should have left the people alone, not to enter these questions into their mind, just ignore this question in the first place. ואולי שעה אחת יבוא הרהור בליבם הזה, maybe one time they're going to think bad thoughts because of this question. ואף על פי שאין תשובה ניצחת על זה, and even though there's no good answer to the Rambam's questions, טוב הוא לסמוך לו קצת תשובה ואומר, there's a few good answers, there's a good one I can give you. The Rambam, the Ravad starts to talk to you about mazalot, and how a person is born into the power of the constellations, and the constellations decide for him how he behaves. And Rav Kapach very politely writes, at the end of this paragraph, I like to believe that Ravad didn't write these words, because we already know what the Rambam thinks about people who believe like this. Okay. But if you look in the right column, in footnote Yud Tet, Rav Kapach precedes this whole paragraph with something interesting. He says here, ואין רבנו מעורר את השאלה כדי למצוא לה תירוץ, או כדי לתרצה כפי שחשב הרעב"ד. Maybe the Ravad's right. ודימה שהוא פתח בדבר שלא יכול להשלימו. Maybe the Ravad's right, the Rambam began with something he didn't know how to finish. ואין הדבר אמת. This is Rav Kapach, it's not true. אלא רבנו השלימו והשלימו. רבנו answered the question, he completed it already. גמרו וסיימו עד תומו. He completely finished it. כי רבנו בעומק הסברתו בא לעקור את השאלה מעיקרה. The Rambam answered your question by getting rid of your question. He told you your question is wrong. That's how he answered your question. He didn't take you to Emunah. He told you, you're asking a question, how HaKadosh Baruch Hu can know what I do when I have the free will to do it. Says the Rambam, it's a nice question, but it only exists in your mind that only understands I know, two separate things. But there is no I know. HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is what he knows. רבנו מלמדנו כי כל עצם השאלה מתעוררת מתוך בורותנו במושגי האלוהות. The whole question is built on a premise of our ignorance and understanding God. כאילו ידענו את אדוני אלוהי ישראל כפי יכולתנו, לא הייתה כאן שאלה. Because if we knew HaKadosh Baruch Hu the way we should know him, there would be no question. Like Rabbi Akiva, who knew HaKadosh Baruch Hu. וכל כולה לא באה אלא מפני שדימינו והזינו שדיעתו דומה לידיעתנו או מעין ידיעתנו. It's only because of our ridiculous thought that his thoughts are like our thoughts when the Navi says כי לא מחשבותיי מחשבותיכם, then my thoughts are not your thoughts, says the prophet. פירוש הדבר, meaning, יכול לדמות ששאלה הזו יכולה להיות שאלה רק מי שעובד ללא אלוהי אמת. The only one who could even ask this question is the one who serves a false god. But not HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who's the God of truth. It says Rav Kapach, עקבתי עד כמה שידי מגעת אחרי כל מי שדיבר על לשון רבנו משנה זו. I went after every chacham who tried to explain the Rambam over here, ואחר הסליחה רבה, and after asking a lot of forgiveness from them, כולם טיפלו בה שלא כדרכה. All of them dealt with the topic incorrectly. And the next footnote, he goes to list all of the ones who dealt with them incorrectly. And I think that here is something very important. I think we're ending off in a very interesting place for me, for Amim Noaim. Usually I don't leave you with questions, so here are the answers, the important part, because the question is not a question. Remember that. At the end of the day, we know what we know. What do we know? We know that we woke up this morning and we made 100, 200, 300 choices today. And there is nobody in the world that influenced those choices aside from us. We know that because if right now you wanted to choose, if you want to say right now, I'm not staying for slichot, you have the choice to go. If you want to say, I am staying for slichot, you have the choice to do it. What's influencing you? You're tired. You have a bed waiting at home. You have dinner waiting at home. You have kids waiting at home. So who's influencing you? You. But there's no force in the world right now that is like a puppet pulling your puppet strings. When people tell you, don't worry, everything is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, everything you do is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so what does that do for me? It shirks all personal responsibility. I can be a bad person, I could be a jerk, I could be horrible to other people. God, what do you want from me? That's what God did. Not my problem. And we know those people. We know those people who blame, in their religiosity, blame everything on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and then we have to suffer from their ignorance. Yeah, that's what Shlomo Melech says. Very good. Shlomo Melech says, "Ivelet adam tesaref darko." A person's bad choices, their perversion, will pervert their ways. Ve'al Adonai yiz'af libo. And who does he get mad at? HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why did you do it to me? I didn't do to you what? What did I do to you? A person does horrible things. An example, horrible things. I mentioned to you always. A person drives 115 miles on the highway. They get a car accident, they die. And everybody at the funeral, why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu take him away from us? The question you should ask at the funeral, why did this person commit suicide by car? It's harsh what I'm saying? Of course it's harsh what I'm saying. But a person is taught, especially somehow, the more religious they go, because the less religious they are, the less they blame HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Sometimes you hear people blame the universe or the mother nature. Like you hear those people? It's the same Avodah Zarah as the Jewish ones, just in a different version. That's why the Rambam writes over there in Mishnayot Avodah Zarah. The Rambam says, the civilized goyim, like the Greeks, he says, they don't believe in this nonsense because they already have a brain that works. They only blame themselves for their decisions. Personal responsibility. A person says, somebody else will do Teshuvah for me. Somebody else will pull me out of Gehenom. Somebody else will save me. Somebody else will. We can't get behind such a mentality because there is no somebody else who can do the work that I need to do. Now is Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippurim. Trust me that if there was a way for Jewish people to pay somebody else to do Teshuvah for them, they would do it, and there would be hotlines, there would be businesses. Pay me, I'll fast for you Yom Kippurim, you go to the beach. But everybody knows on Yom Kippurim, there's not a chance in the world that I can pay someone to do Teshuvah for me. Because all of the things that I did wrong this year were my choices. And this leads to a beautiful thought. Harav Kook and Avet Shalom, he writes that a person, just like you do vidui, on Yom Kippurim of all the things you did wrong, you also have to do vidui for all the things you did right. Admit to the good choices that you made this year. You say Hashamnu, say Ahavnu. You want to say Ta'inu, say Hitpalana, say something. Give HaKadosh Baruch Hu also an accounting of the good choices you made this year. Why always have to beat yourself up? Like part of the selichot here that nobody understands. Sephardic selichot are ridiculous. Mamash ridiculous. I'll tell you why they're ridiculous. I'm going to end with this thought here for you. Rabbani's sister sent me a text message today. You guys know the famous story of the Baal Shem Tov? That there was a little boy that came to Beit HaKnesset and Yom Kippurim, and they were all praying, and he didn't know how to pray, but he was a little shepherd, so all he knew how to do was to play the flute. So he took out his flute and he played the flute. Everybody started screaming at him. The Baal Shem Tov said, "No, you don't understand. His tefillot were accepted in the heavens like nobody else, because that was really sincere playing of the flute." The classic Hasidic story. There's a kid breaking the holiday in the Beit HaKnesset, and he's the tzaddik from the story. Okay, it's a classic Hasidic moment. I'm not here getting into that story. But if you've noticed in the last 10, 15 years, anyone here been to Ashkenazi Selichot before? There was an article printed in the newspaper this week in Israel that said there are researchers that are concerned with the death of the Ashkenazi Selichot. That in Israel, everybody does Sephardic. You go to the Kotel, there's a minyanim around the clock, but they're all Sephardic. And by the way, even the Yemenites have to do in Netzach Hama, Bashmoret. Why? Because if not, can't get over the loudspeakers. They took over the Kotel, everybody. You go to the army base, everybody's doing Sephardic Selichot. He reads Torah like an Ashkenazi, but he's doing Selichot like a Sfaradi. Why? That Selichot took over the world. Like it, don't like it, that's what happened. It's a really weird kind of Selichot, because if you've been to Ashkenazi Selichot, the real ones, it's very somber. Shema kolenu, Hashem Elokeinu. That's like the happiest song in the whole Selichot. That one? Yeah, that's if they're even singing. Hanan told me in school they just mumble the Selichot. I promise you that real Ashkenazim know how to sing Selichot. the real ones. It's not very exciting, but it's how they sing it.
I'd like to just.
That silichot makes sense. I'm coming to say sorry. I'm really sorry. I really hurt you. I didn't mean to. Along come the Sefaradim. What's wrong with you? Imagine you go say sorry to your wife like that. I'm so sorry. I was so rude to you. She'll throw you out of the house. What is wrong with you that you say silichot like that? And so there are people that don't like that we say silichot like that. There are definitely people like that. So I was saying about the Ashkenazi world. In the last 10, 15 years, Ashkenazim have become very bored with traditional Ashkenazi silichot. And they've now turned Ashkenazi silichot into concerts. You might not have seen this before. If you put right now on YouTube, Ashkenazi silichot, you're going to find guitars, drums, rock bands, disco lighting, fog machines, something incredible. In the Great Synagogue, in Hasidic places, in Lithuania, everywhere. It's become a concert. So Rabbanit's sister sent me a story this morning of a little boy who came to silichot, Ashkenazi silichot. On Saturday night, right? You know the Ashkenazi silichot, the piyut? Ashkenazi silichot starts with. You're right. Everyone starts with Ashrei Baruch. The piyutim. I wrote it down.
Yes.
Kidamnucha techilam. We came first to pray early. We came early to pray to you. 3 weeks after everybody else. It's a very unique sense of humor. There's kidamnucha techilam. Yeah, but here, here, they say the story. I'll read it to you. Nechama sent it to me. It's very important to hear the story, the way the new version goes. A small boy came into the Beit Midrash for slichot. He saw the Beit Midrash packed with people. Each had their guitar or their flute, and they burned with a yearning for the Eibishter, for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The boy said, I have no guitar, I can't play music, but I know how to read. So he pulled out a slichot, and he began reading them passionately. The Hasidim were struck, and turned to the Rebbe, and his face was shining. And he said to them, you have no idea what a tumult this pure boy's tefillot made in heaven. Yani, everybody was busy playing the guitar, only he was saying slichot, but it's okay. HaKadosh Baruch Hu also is like playing the flute on Yom Kippurim. This story is the exact opposite of everything else. I think part of the reason why we say slichot the way we say slichot is because we're already, you read the words, we're already going to say Ashamnu, Baganu, Gadol. We say a lot of things in the slichot. Some averot you don't even do, and you say Ashamnu for them. Some of them you do, and that's why you say them. There's a long one we say in the morning of Rosh Hashanah, the Vidui of Rabbenu Nisim. I don't know if Rabbenu Nisim wrote it. Like 1,000 averot. If you ever run out of ideas for averot, you can open up the book and look for new ones, because some of the averot there, you didn't even imagine to do them before. So we say slichot, there's part of us that's also coming to do vidui of the good things that we do. There's a certain closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we feel. Maybe it's presumptuous, it's true. Maybe it's a little much, maybe. But part of that is a profound understanding that we, and only we, are responsible for our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And our rabbis tell us, Eno domeh hashav mira lashav me'ahava. You can't compare the person who returns to HaKadosh Baruch Hu out of fear to the one who returns to HaKadosh Baruch Hu out of love. The one who returns out of fear, says Rabbenu HaRambam, it's a very primitive way to do Teshuvah. Scare me into compliance, that is not the reason why I should serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It works. I mean, if that's how you're going to get me to serve, fine, I'll do it. But more than that, greater than that, to inspire me to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu out of love. That Teshuvah of Ahava is what we're trying to accomplish with people. We don't want people just to do Teshuvah. We want them to do Teshuvah out of Ahava. We want people to do Teshuvah in a way that they understood. I think last night, when we read the Moed Nevuchim together, the overwhelming feeling that we got was, wow, this is a kind of Judaism that puts a lot of responsibility on me, but I can really get behind it, because it means that I have some control over my destiny. I have some control over my connection with the creator of the universe. I have some meaning in my life, because I'm not just some dust in the wind that is floating around, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is pushing here, pushing there. I suffer because of this, and rather my life has purpose and my life has meaning. And so I bless you all that even though we only had 2 chances to learn Hilchot Teshuvah this week, Rabbi is going to give a class on Thursday night at 7:30, also about Slichot. But to recognize that more than I've told you was written here. So these concepts that we've studied together, about Bechira, about Teshuvah, about HaKadosh Baruch Hu's knowledge, about our knowledge of the Creator, There's so much more to learn here. And it's what we do here for the rest of the year. For those of you that join me just for Slichon, I ask to remember that after Sukkot, we come back to learn together again. And there's a whole year full of shiurim. And you might wonder, what does the Shulchan Aruch have to do with the Moreh Nevuchim? The answer is everything. Everything. Because the little pieces, the little details, how you make your cup of tea on Shabbat is also important in the grand scheme of the world. And if you don't understand why, so there's a lot of Torah to learn that connects all of those things. B'ezrat Hashem, HaKadosh will bless us. Tachel shana v'chilotea. We say first, tichle shana v'kilotea. Let the year and all of her curses end. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows there were a lot of curses. I feel like every year, between COVID and October 7th and the war, and there's so many curses we've had, may this year and all of her curses end. Tachel shana v'chilotea. May this year and all of her blessings begin. B'ezrat Hashem, shana tova u'metuka. You should merit to be written b'sefer chaim tovim, in a book of good and healthy life. B'ezrat Hashem.